folks, it's Nate, and I've picked up another new tool for the shop. I kept threatening to do it, I kept saying I was going to do it, well now I finally did. I've got a plasma cutter, and as you can guess, it's from YesWelder. I went to YesWelder, this one was not a freebie. You may remember I got that TIG welder from them that I keep threatening to actually use on the channel. As soon as I'm able to get some gas for that TIG welder, I'll start using that on the channel. I do want to start working on the bumper for the JK. And I decided that before I do that, I wanted something to cut steel that was a little quicker and easier than angle grinders and cutoff wheels. So here I am with a plasma cutter. This is the YesWelder CUT-55DS. It's a 110 or 220. You can see there's a 110 plug on here. It came with a 220 adapter. Just like the TIG welder though, it doesn't match the plug I have for my welder. So I'm going to have to work that out. Probably I'll change the plug on the welder. I'll probably change the wiring in the shop to support the proper 220 plug that the YesWelder stuff is using, because now I have two devices from YesWelder that use a different plug than my Clark does, and the Clark's is easy to swap. I just took it out of the box. I don't even know how to connect the thing yet. The instruction manual that came with it doesn't go in depth on how to connect everything, so I'm hoping it's not that hard to figure out. Came with, of course, the machine itself, which is, as you can tell, is not a lot big. This is that Workmate WeldMate that I built a month or two ago that I made a video about. So to give you an idea of how big this is, right? Came with, of course, the cutting torch. And there's some accessories in there for the torch. This appears to be an air regulator, ground clamp, 220 adapter. Now on their website it says this is not included with the plasma cutter. However, here it is. So I don't know if I lucked out or if it's just that their website is wrong. Your mileage may vary. Fittings here. And this clear hose, which I think is meant maybe to be used for air? I don't know. For those of you that have never used a plasma cutter, the idea is simple. This torch works kind of like, I guess, like a TIG welder. It makes an arc hot enough to melt steel. And then it blows compressed air through the arc so that it blows out the steel that it's melted, essentially cutting through the steel as you drag. Works very much like a welder, except it's taking material away instead of putting material in. So, I need to figure out how this is all connected. So I'm going to start working through some of that, and then I'll show you what I figure out. Alright, so on the back of the cutter, there's these two screws right here that are there already. This bracket comes along with this device. This is the regulator. Right here on the back of it, it says, air and water filter installing place. This filter has an arrow on it that points this way. I think that means that's the direction that air is meant to flow through it. It fits like this into here, but as you can see, this is in the way. So I don't know why they did that, but that's a problem. So I don't know what to do about that, other than find a different place to mount this. I suppose I could mount it on one of these case mounting screws. So I'm going to put this here for now, because it seems like it should work. I'm going to put it this way. And this red ring threads on here. That holds it in place. So they give you this plastic clear hose and two fittings. I think what you're meant to do is cut this and run it from the out of this to the in of this. So I'm going to run this around to there. Cut it off. They have these little compression fitting jobbies. See, these are kind of springy. What happens is when you push this plastic hose in there, this pushes in and there's these little barbs in there, and then when you let go, the barbs hold into this thing. I don't know if this is going to be like a nice airtight fit, but it's what they sent me, so it's what I have to work with. Now I need to get this around here and cut it off at the right length. Okay. So theoretically, that's all I need to get the air hooked up. If I were to do this, it shouldn't explode or anything. There's a tiny, tiny little plug they've given me, which I think is supposed to go here. Ground clamp goes in here. It's more of a twist lock style thing. That's cool. These appear to be additional tips and cups. So that's cool. Let me tell you guys, this is the first exposure I've had to a plasma cutter, so this is going to be a learning curve for me, the same as that TIG welder is going to be. Alright, now the clamps on the front here make sense. Alright, so this goes here. This is the air line, I believe. And then, okay. This is the positive lead. We're going to put it between the two washers. Thread this on here. This guy looks like the attachment for a mic for a CB. Obviously it's not. It's keyed. It only goes in one way. We're going to plug it in there and then it threads in. Okay, we got that and this. Now we got this guy. Theoretically, we're ready to plasma cut now. Alright, so a few things I've noticed so far. There's a hiss come from the machine. I don't know if there's an internal piece that's not sealed properly, or if that's normal. I'm going to contact YesWelder and find out. But otherwise, I think I'm ready to try this, right? So if I turn it on, you can hear it humming and whatnot. The dial here lets you set the power or the amps, I believe it is, that you want to cut at, right? It goes way up to 55, which is what the 55 in cut 55 means. There's an air gauge on here. It lets you know the pressure coming out of this flow valve, or the water valve here. So I can crank it up. And what that should mean is more pressure will come out of that tip as I'm cutting. I don't know. I have to play with that and figure out how that works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get set up here to try to cut just a piece of scrap steel that I've got laying around, and we'll see how it goes. Alright folks, I'm obviously not dressed for this, but here's my first attempt. I think maybe I need more power here. Let's see. That was only at 16. I'm going to try 20. See what happens. I'm not sure if I need this helmet or not. I cut a little chunk out. Pretty cool. So there you have it, folks. This is my first ever cut with a plasma cutter. This little chunk that's gone right here, that was my second attempt. This jaggedy thing was my first attempt. So, all in all, it went pretty well. I think if this material was smoother, it would be a lot easier. It would have been a lot easier to cut through. Simply because the gun. So the gun has this like guard on it, but the guard helps you be sure of the depth. It drug on the rust that's on this metal, and that, you know. Now obviously you can see that the cuts are quite raggedy. I don't know if that's a practice thing or if it's a quality thing or what, but that'll need to be cleaned up in order to use. So I'm going to give this thing a little more effort, but for now I think that we have a functioning plasma cutter, which is kind of cool. Alright folks, So there you have it, the YesWelder CUT-55DS. Couple observations. 1, the machine makes that hissing noise. 2, I wish the instructions that came with it were better. I found some typos in the instructions. Now, I want to caveat all this. This machine is pretty new. Around the time when I first started talking to YesWelder, I asked them if they had plasma cutters, and at the time they said they were working on them. And this is the outcome of that. That was maybe 8 months ago, 6 months ago, whatever. So this is a relatively new design. So I'm going to give it a little bit of slack. In all, I like it. I really do. The price came in under $400. I think they're like perpetually on sale for around $350. The list price is $399, I think. I don't like using it on 110, mainly because it doesn't. So it's connected to a 20 amp circuit at the moment, and I had it cutting at 20 amps, which obviously, do the math. 20 amp draw, 20 amp circuit, you can pop a breaker. I tried it at 25 amps, not thinking, and I popped a breaker. I tried it at 20 amps and cut for quite a bit, and it worked better, but I still popped the breaker. So I'm definitely going to have to get this thing wired up for 220 in order to not be popping breakers every time I try to cut with the damn thing. All things considered, it cuts nice. I'm going to have to learn a bit about how to use it, but I was able to cut some funny shapes out here without a problem. I have to learn, what speed I need to move at. I need to get some better attire to cut in, obviously. I felt some sparks on my arm a little bit. It's really hot out, which is why I'm wearing this, and I knew I wasn't going to be cutting much. You shouldn't be cutting wearing a tank top and shorts and running shoes, though. But it is what it is. It worked out pretty well, pretty easy and intuitive to work with. The only thing I don't like is this trigger is really easy to tap, so I was just like moving around to try to get into position. I kept tapping it, and they say that doing that too often will eventually ruin this tip, and that's not something I want to do. Once you start your first cut, air starts coming out of this tip, and it doesn't turn off. Again, I don't know if that's intentional or not, but it cuts. This is 1/8 inch steel that I had laying around. Cut through it without too much of a problem. I think it'll cut much thicker. For the price point, I think I'm happy. You can buy a much nicer plasma cutter for much more money, but I think I'm going to be able to live with this one, given the size of my shop and the budget for the items that I have in it. Remember that if you want to pick up one of these or anything else from the YesWelder, remember to use my promo code SWBFab on YesWelder.com, because that'll get you 10% off on their website, which is a good thing for everybody, right? There you have it. Let me know what you guys think about this thing in the comments on this video. Remember, if you like what you saw here, you should subscribe to the channel and like the video so that I know that you liked it. If you want to buy something from YesWelder, you should use my promo code SWBFab on YesWelder.com. Like I said, not a bad machine, and they've got lots of other things out there for sale. They also have MIG and stick welders, which Bearded Jeeper has been using one of their MIGs. He learned on it, and he's making some really nice welds with it. Remember that if you want to support the channel, you can do so via Patreon, or you can head on over to SWBCrawler.com and you can order merchandise from me. There are a bunch of delays at the moment because of the COVID-19 stuff. I think everything's delayed. Everyone's expecting that now. Thank you for watching, and remember, get out there and wheel.